if anyone could ever do it, then you can. Anything that anybody was ever able to do, there is nothing that stops you from doing it. This is a principle. You remember, I'm talking about life is predictable. One of the principles that makes life predictable is the fact that anything that anybody was ever able to do, every one of us can repeat it. If we, there are some principles behind it, but I'm going to tell you. That is why God gave us the Bible as a book of examples or book of principles. The reason this is important is because the Bible is given to us for us to see the example of other people that were able to please God. The example of other people that were able to do great things. If anybody was ever able to do anything in this world, that is a proof on its own. That is a principle that thing could be repeated by any other person. God created the whole universe, and it created the earth to function in such a way that we will know this as a fact, that anything that you ever aspire to do, just look for somebody who has done it before. If anybody was able to do anything, if anything was attempted by somebody and was successfully done, that thing could be repeated. Let's look at Bill Gates. If anybody like Bill Gates was ever able to make billions and will make them in the tens of almost $100 billion, it means that feat could be repeated by anybody who really seriously wants to do the same thing. That is one thing that you must know. There are no special people in that sense. Sometimes we put people on the pedestal and we think that people are special. We think that only he alone could do it. Sometimes some people come to me and look at Pastor Sunday, only you could do what you have done. Wow, you are so special. God has anointed you to do that. You are the only one who can do that. No, my friend. If Pastor Sunday was able to do it, each one of you can do it as well. It doesn't matter what area of life. If anybody was able to do something, every other person can repeat it. Look at the great people that we all might admire. Shakespeare, Isaac Newton, Martin Luther King Jr. or Martin Luther the Reformer. Think of any, or Mother Teresa, Princess Diana. Think of anybody that you ever admire in your life. What do you admire them for? What are the great things they have done, they have been able to do? Anything that they have been able to do, no matter how great, how spectacular, how supernatural it is, that could be done by any other person also. In Europe here, people used to think that people who had the ability to read and write were given that ability from above, from God. They think that the ability to read and write was a unique ability that was given to those few people, selected people from heaven. That people will think that the ability to read and write has to be given to you specially from heaven, that you have to be specially chosen. And people were thinking that not everybody, this is not in Africa. People thought like that. People thought like this everywhere in the universe. People thought like that in Africa. People thought like that in Asia, and especially in Europe. That doctrine was here in Europe. Or you could think that some individuals are special or they are superior. No, you just need to discover the formulas and the principles behind their success. That is what makes life predictable. Therefore, life is predictable because if you could find out the principles and the rules and the laws behind anything in creation, behind everything, you will discover that you too, you will be able to predict your future. You will not just be able to predict it, you will be able to repeat what that person has done. Everything that anybody has ever done could be repeated. Every achievement, every greatness, every product that has ever been created by any human being could be repeated by any other person. Life is about principles, my friends. Principles discovered and principles implemented. So if anybody was ever able to attain anything, to become anything in life, know that there's no problem for you. You too can become that. When I discovered it, I didn't want to just be an ordinary preacher, and because God wanted me to be a preacher, and I said all the preachers that I knew at that time, most of them were white people and only few black people, and I thought I didn't have any chance. Bill Graham is a white, Oral Roberts is a white, Kenneth Hagin is a white, T.L. Osborne is a white, and all these people are Americans, and I thought I didn't have any chance. But But when I discovered this secret, I discovered that if I could just study them. So I began to study these people. That's why studying biographies of successful people is so key and is so important, because they will help you to discover the secrets behind their success. They all used a principle by looking for God. All of them went to lock themselves up in a room for like a week or 2 weeks or 1 month or 2 months, just seeking the face of God. So I said, okay, this is a principle right there. I said, okay, for me not to be an ordinary pastor and for me to be, a successful pastor, I need to do the same thing. So I was determined to go and lock myself inside until Jesus comes to appear to me. Because that's another principle I discovered, that Jesus appeared to most of these people individually. But how did Jesus appear to them? By them seeking his face, locking themselves up in a place for as long as possible until Jesus came down. Life is built on principles, formulas, and algorithms. So there are rules, laws that guide everything that happens in the world. I spoke about buildings. How is it that everybody can now build buildings? Because the science of architecture was invented. You look at medicine as well. There was a time people used to think that you only needed to be a doctor from God, that God himself needed to anoint you and make you a doctor, that only God, only if you are not born to be a doctor, you cannot be one. But today, anybody could be taken to the medical school and be trained to be a doctor. Why? Because the algorithms and the formulas have been discovered. Anybody could become a doctor if he wants to. Anybody could become an engineer if he wants to. Just go to the school. Why do we have school system? Because school system and educational system is about formula. Discovered formulas and principles that are being taught to you. You are just being taught the principles and secrets and formulas that have been discovered. That's why we have education. That's why we have educational system.